It is that time again. We had Reality Roundup with Simply Stacey. It is the Bachelorette Season 18, week number 4. Stay tuned. Hi there, Simply Subbies. Welcome back to the Simply Stacey YouTube channel. We are doing Bachelorette week number 4, and I just wanted to show you a couple of things before we get started. Some of my new merch has arrived for fall, winter 2021. This here is a crop top with the Simply. You see, there it is. Simply inspiring and motivating people to live intentionally. That's what it says underneath. Established 2018. That is when I created the Simply brand. You guys can check it out at staceyhuddleston.com/shop. Also, same logo on my mug, Simply established 2018, and then my hardcover journals that you guys have been seeing in some of my other videos. Definitely check it out. You guys looking for Christmas gifts for family, friends, loved ones, co-workers, colleagues, anything like that. Motivational, inspirational merchandise at the Simply Stacey store. So definitely check it out. Again, that is staceyhuddleston.com/shop. Now let's get into week number 4. So last week was a bit of a little roller coaster. We had a little villain come up out of there the week before, and he left up out of there last week. Okay, Jeremy is gone. But that does not stop them from talking about him on this week's episode. Okay, so it starts out with the guys talking about, like, dang, that was kind of crazy, you know, Jamie going home and him putting all these rumors in the air, and he's actually the one who was questioning Michelle's character and all this situation, right? And then also Caitlyn and Michelle, they start the show off as well. So after the guys are talking about it, Caitlyn and Michelle are actually discussing it. And they're talking about, Caitlyn's basically asking her how she's doing with Jamie's exit. And Michelle's like, it's real crazy that he was the one, you know, starting the rumors and all that stuff. But I did get him out of there. I am pushing myself to remain vulnerable and to continue to be a part of this process. And if something like that comes up again, I will address it head on, just like I just did. I really appreciate her. When she finds something that is wrong, Michelle has no problem of nipping it in the bud and getting rid of it, okay? She does not let it fester, and that's exactly what she did with Jamie. Okay, so Tayshia comes in. She's talking to all the fellas, and she's letting them know, okay, guys, this is a good week. There is going to be 2 one-on-one dates, and then there's also going to be a group date. So, of course, the guys really do want a one-on-one date. She does leave the very first date card there for them to read. And the first date card is for the one-on-one date, and it says Martin. Now remember, he's the one that looks a little bit like all the characters of NSYNC. He has the blonde hair. Okay, so Martin, let's get love back on track. Heart Michelle, that is his date. So now Olu is talking to the confessional like, you know what? Martin and Jamie were pretty close. I don't know if I could trust him. I don't know if Michelle should be trusting him either. You know, he could possibly be two-faced. We don't know because Jamie had us all fooled. Okay. Now, they do pan over to Michelle, who is also saying she picked Martin for this date because she does know he, too, was close to Jamie. So I was like, oh, okay, that's something I didn't really get from the editing. But apparently, they were really close. And she wants to make sure that he's someone that she can put all her trust in, because right now she just is kind of, you know, she just doesn't know. Okay, so they get there. They're at this racetrack with these fast cars. And I'm like, oh, this is not a date I would like. I don't like to be driving fast, reckless, speeding, none of that. I get motion sickness. And this would not be a date I would love. But apparently Martin is an adrenaline junkie. Or at least he gives Michelle the impression that he loves adventure and adrenaline, as he did a backflip on their first encounter when he met her. So they're going to be driving these, or drifting, these BMW cars or something. And he says that he's drifted before, but you know, it was a stick shift, so this is a little bit different. So it sounds like this is right up his alley, and she apparently knew that because that's why she picked him for the date. And they seem to have a good time. They learn how to do it first. Michelle is getting in there just like he is. She said all she used to do was drift on the snow, not you know, in a setting like this before. They have walkie-talkies, and he's like, oh, that was a cool spin. She like, he's spinning out of control. She might not want to be in a car with him. And then they actually, at some point, get in the same car. She's driving. She's doing the spins. And then at some point, even I believe that there's a real driver who's driving them around the track, too. So they have this fun little date going on. And then the second part is that they actually head to a hot tub, which is located on the grounds. So they're on the racetrack. There's some champagne, you know, a little bubbly or whatever. So basically, Michelle takes this time to, you know, kind of talk to talk to Martin and see, you know, where it is. And he asked her, you know, he's the one who checked in on her, I believe, on their group date last week. And she appreciated it, so he did get that group date rose. And he's like, you know, how are things, you know, after last night with you letting Jamie go? And so she kind of just listens and lets him talk. And he's like, you know, I think he's still a hell of a guy. And Michelle, you could tell, like, her face is a little bit like, okay, what are you saying? Or do you think I made the wrong decision? Do you not think I should have let him go? What really are you trying to get at? Because she, remember, they are friends. And he's basically just saying, I still think he's a good guy, so she does kind of ask him that question directly, and he tells her, well, I mean, you have a different relationship with him than he did with the guys in the house, so basically kind of like, I'm not questioning you, but she says she still gets the vibe that, like, either he's questioning her decision or trying to take up for Jamie, and she doesn't really know where he stands or how to feel about that. But she just kind of listens and just sees where he's going with it. I don't know where he was going with it, but I was like, this is probably not the time to talk about it. You and Jamie could be friends outside of the show, but let's not talk about it anymore on this show. He's like, well, I'm still here, so it's all good. It's hard for me to say you made the wrong decision, and I'm still here, so needless to say, he didn't say you made the right decision for you. It was just more of so like, well, I guess you had a different relationship. And she's like, well, no one was in that room with Jamie and I but me. We had the conversation. So I made the best decision based on the information that I had. And basically, don't question me. Okay, so then the next part of the day, they get dressed up for dinner. And she tells him, basically starting off, you know, that I need to trust my soulmate. And she felt shut down when she and he were talking about Jamie in the hot tub, and you know that really didn't sit well with her. And he says, I apologize, I'm very blunt when it comes off to me giving my opinion. It could come off as condescending. I've been taught before. It's something I need to work on, that I'm going to work on. You know, basically I didn't mean to make you feel shut off in that. And then he goes into details about his upbringing and how his parents were and how his dad wasn't the greatest of communicators. And so, you know, he didn't show emotions. And so that's something that he's been working with. And Michelle says, you know what? She also had a point in time in her life when she was growing up where she wasn't very open and honest with her parents and emotionally, expressing herself, and till she went off to college and she started pushing herself to do so. So when she came home, they're like, oh, you're a totally different person. Like, you've grown a lot. You know, her mother told her that. And so he's like, okay, so there is hope for me. And so they kind of bond over that a little bit. She did tell him that she feels like what she appreciates about him is that when she brings something to his attention, he addresses it right then and tries to, like, change course. So she liked that, and I guess she didn't feel like he per se was trying to tell her that she did it wrong and sending Jamie home. She does like him. She asks, okay, so now when you have children, because of your upbringing, how do you plan to communicate with them or do that? And he said basically by leading by example. So he'd have to push himself to be more emotionally open, and he's been doing a lot of work on that in the past, and he's come a long way. Okay, so they had a decent date. The date card does actually arrive at the house with the fellas, and it is for the group date. And so, you know, everybody is hoping that it does not have their names on it because they want the one-on-one date. I think Joe in particular. So there is Will, Chris S, Casey, Chris G, Leroy, Olu, Brandon, Joe, Romeo, Nate, Clayton, and then there's somebody else. I don't remember what I wrote. It looks like his name starts with a P, but I don't know what name that is. Anyway, there's another person on this date. So that leaves Rick. Rick actually, I think it's Rodney or something. But Rick is the guy who gets the one-on-one date. So he's super excited. He's the one with those like dark eyes. Look like he has on eye makeup all the time. But he's super excited to spend time with her. And Nate makes a comment like, you know, I feel like I'm in a good spot. I'm not really worried about a one-on-one date at this moment because I know one is going to come. And when I say Nate has been unbothered the entire time, I get it as confidence, but apparently Chris S took it as cockiness. And he's like, Nate seems kind of cocky, talking about he's going to get one eventually. But I feel Nate feels like I am confident in who I am as a person. I don't have to worry about Jamie. I didn't have to worry about Joe. I just am confident in what me and Michelle have. And so eventually I feel like we're going to get our one-on-one date. I just have to stay patient. I think that's where he was coming from. But of course, Chris S. behind takes it as cockiness. So he makes a comment of it. Okay, we're back to the date with Martin and Michelle. And basically, she does give him the one-on-one date rose. And they go out and I don't even know what it's called. I want to be like, it's something with astronomy. So they go in this place with this big dome and all these stars. You know, they can see them. There's a telescope. I do not know what it's called. Y'all comment down below if y'all know what I am talking about. Observatory? Something like that, I guess, maybe. But she's like, oh, anytime I think of stars, I'm going to, you know, think about Martin. And anytime I look up at the sky, I'm going to think about him. It seemed like it ended off on a good note, even though he was kind of sort of low-key of saying Jamie was still a hell of a guy, even though Jamie was a big ASS liar. And he, you know, spread all those rumors and then put it to her like all the other guys did it. So I'm like, yeah, Jamie's not that high. So needless to say, I don't think her and Martin are going to go the longest. But I mean, for right now, he sticks around. Okay, so then there's these gift bags that arrive at the resort where all the guys are. Everybody who is going on the group date gets them. They have like robes and slippers and boxers and boxer briefs. And I think Chris S got tidy whities. Everybody had something different. Clayton had a robe. I think Joe had a pair of silk pajamas. Somebody else had boxers or briefs. Chris S had tidy whities. It was so funny. I don't know how she picked who was wearing what. So they get dressed up and Chris S, I think he goes for that movie Big. So he puts on his tidy whities, but he puts on a white button up on top of it. The other guys just pretty much wear what they were given. Some people don't have a shirt, just have pants. And so I don't know if she picked that out or did the producers do that or whoever did it, but at least they weren't all dressed alike. And they find out when Michelle comes down in her little sleeper set, it was a matching like kind of bralette and shorts pajama set that they were having a slumber party. So they go to this place and there's these huge teddy bears all over. There's cotton candy machines and popcorn machines and like a Build-A-Bear workshop where they can just put stuffing in the bears and make their own bears and everything. And when I say they had pedicure stations and like facials and cucumbers. When I say these guys, all the guys was, I think it was 14 guys. And Michelle was like, oh, this is going to be the biggest group date ever. It's going to be kind of hard for me to like, you know, give my attention to everybody. But listen, guys. Them guys was so into this slumber party. She said, I think they tapping too much into their like self-care man regimen because they didn't focus on her at all. Like nobody pulled her to the side. Nobody was like doing things with her, making jokes, trying to pull her, making any memorable moments, as she said. And Michelle started feeling away. She was like, okay, these guys aren't pulling me. Maybe I got to pull them. I think she called Clayton's name one time. He looks up and then I don't even think he wins. So she like, what the hell am I even here for? Because apparently they having fun playing with each other over playing with me or talking to me or trying to get to know me or any of this stuff. So she was really feeling unseen. That is basically what it came down to. And if y'all remember, she did a poem last week at a group day where she did say, you know, being the only girl of color in Minnesota at her school or whatever, she oftentimes felt like she was unseen and she was a token black girl and nobody really wanted to date her, see her, you know, all that good stuff. So she's definitely back in that childhood high school moment. And the guys are none the wiser. They are just having a ball. So, yeah, they're just basically bonding with each other. So Tayshia and Caitlyn show up and they have these big, huge teddy bears. And they say, well, guys, you thought this is all you're going to do? It's not it. You're going to do a teddy bear fight. So when I say the bears are huge, like as big as me. Not me, but a little bit shorter. Anyway, and so you could tell that Michelle is a little bit annoyed because she was like, okay, now they're going to be competing. So they're really not about to talk to me. And I'm already in a bad mood. So she does, oh, and there are, who are these girls? The Bella twins, or I think there are some like wrestler girls. The Bella twins. So they're there and they're, you know, hitting each other with these teddy bears. So basically it's a pillow fight, but with teddy bears. So Michelle goes and sits between Kayla and Tayshia. Like, are you okay? What's going on? She was like, I'm good. But you could tell she was not. She was annoyed. She was not having fun. And then she says to herself, you know what? Everybody else seems to be having fun. I'm the only one not. Basically thinking like, these are my insecurities. Because in my mind, I'm like, go over there and do something. Go over there and pull one of them. Or go and say something like, dang, I'm here. Ain't nobody gonna say nothing. But she was just sitting in her moment. Because I'm like, I think they don't understand that this is going on. Or they were being too nice and everybody want to pull her all at once. Or whatever the case may be. But needless to say, honey, that's what was happening. So they do this fight. So it's two teams and they go one-on-one. And then the team that wins will actually get more time with her at the cocktail party. And the team that loses will go home. Okay, so first up is Joe and Clayton. Clayton wins. Then there's Rodney and Leroy. Leroy wins. Then there is Will and Nate. And Will, he beat Big Nate up. Because Nate, he was over talking a lot of noise. He real tall, but he did not win. Will beat the pizzeria guy last week in another thing. So Will just out here. Okay, then there's Chris S. and Casey. Casey wins. And there's Chris G. and Romeo. Chris G wins. And then Brandon and Olu. And then Olu finally brings it home and he wins in the end. So that team wins. It's Clayton, Leroy, Nate, Casey, Romeo, and Olu, who all get a chance to go to the cocktail party. Now, it's so crazy because, again, the losing team goes home. Nobody goes and tells Michelle bye. They just, I guess, pack their stuff up and leave. And then the winning team, they're too busy cheering and celebrating in a circle with each other that nobody goes. She's like, nobody came up to me and gave me a hug. Nobody came to give me a high five. Nobody said anything to me after they won. It was all about the competition. So she's very, very, very annoyed with them. Okay, so then she goes and she talks to Caitlyn. And I was like, okay, I wonder how they decide if it's Tayshia or Caitlyn who talks to her. Because I really do think that this would have been a moment for Tayshia and Michelle to talk. Just because I think, again, Tayshia also was, like went to school like in a predominantly white neighborhood. And I don't know if she has any of the same similarities. But I thought maybe she could have understood a little bit where Michelle was coming from. As opposed to Caitlyn. But anyway, it was Caitlyn that she talked to. And she basically was telling her about the same thing. Like, I felt unseen. I don't know if you know, but I did this poem. And I was letting all the guys know that were there in that room that I've had moments where I felt unseen. And I was a token black girl and people didn't romantically want me. And so I feel a lot of that going on today. And Caitlyn was like, well, do you think that they know? Do you think, you know, you could give them a chance or let them know about it? Because she was like, sometimes men just don't know. And so she's like, yeah, you're right. I get to the cocktail portion. And basically, Michelle, this is what I like about her. She addresses things head on. So she definitely goes right into the cocktail party and lets them know. Like, hey, guys, I hate to bring this energy to this cocktail party, but I just want you guys to know that I do feel unseen. Nobody was trying to make small moments with me. I'm the one who's always trying to do that, and I feel like in other relationships I have done that and it was not reciprocated, and that is what I need in a soulmate, in a spouse, in a partner, and I just didn't see that today. So then she pulls Nate. She pulls Nate first. So you can see all the guys are like, dang, because they really did not think about it. Now, mind you, the ones who lost and went home, they know nothing about this. This is only the 6 guys who actually won and are having this extra time with her. And so Olu is actually crying. He's like, you know what? I think I got 4 sisters, and I'm their biggest support. They're motivated, like, you're loved, you're beautiful, because he's like, being a black woman, I know that it is not easy, and they are very much overlooked, and I hate that I made her feel that way. He's crying. I'm like, I really feel his heart there. The other guys, you could tell they're sad too, like, dang, I hate that I made her feel that way. Or like, she's right, we didn't do anything, like Clayton and, you know, all these other guys. And then when she goes to talk to Nate, basically it's like, she tells him the same thing, and she's like, I'm not signaling you out because you aren't the only one, but because of the stronger connection that you and I have, for you not to even pull me aside to say hello or check on me or, you know, any of that stuff, it definitely, you know, made me feel bad. And he does definitely apologize for that. And he says, you know, he is definitely going to do better. And he says she is very much seen, and he is so sorry, but he'll do 100% to change that around and work on how he acts within the group settings, especially on the group dates, because he does it by himself a lot. But I guess, you know, like I said, they're trying to be, I don't know, friendly, and they're not trying to be the one to monopolize her time all the time. But he's like, you know what, forget that. Now I'll just be me. Okay, Romeo comes. He also apologized and says, you know, he's sorry. He thinks they got carried away in the competition. And, you know, it was painful for him to hear that from her. Clayton also apologizes and say that he was kind of trying to play it safe and he's going to stop doing that. And then Olu, he basically tells her what he told the guys earlier, that he has the 4 sisters and that he wants her to know that she is seen and she is loved and she's cared for. And he will be making sure that he does that for her. And he's crying in the moment when he's talking to her, and she's crying back. And it's like she feels seen, she feels heard, she feels understood. And they definitely have a moment. With that being said, she does give the group date roles to Olu. And I thought it was definitely good. Not that he had done something good the whole time, but when he acknowledged, you know, what was done wrong, he was very much connecting with her and trying to make it up to her. Okay, so next up is the one-on-one date with Rick. And it says, Rick, the sky is the limit, heart Michelle. And basically, she says, we're going to take our relationship to new heights. They get on this tram. They go up into the mountains. And I think they said they were like 100 feet in the air. And they're hiking kind of sorts. It's like a little hiking situation. Or walking around, like viewing something up there. And they're enjoying the nature. She said it's a breath of fresh air. It's very peaceful. And they come upon this wish box. So it's a box and it says, write a wish, take a wish. So other people have put wishes in there. And so they say, okay, so they read a couple of the wishes. The first one is, I want to find my soulmate. The next wish is, I want the kind of love my grandparents have. And I'm like, oh, okay, so most of the people that go up here to this wish box, they got something to do with love, or at least the producers put those in the box. But everybody wants something. They wish something about love, I guess. So then the third one says, I wish my dad could see the mom that I've become, or the mother I've become. And so Rick said that one really touched him really hard. He lost his father 3 years ago. And, you know, it just really touched him. He shares that with Michelle. And I think it's a little moment that they have. And she makes him feel comfortable in sharing. And then they make their own wish, and they basically says that they wish to have love by having the hard conversations. Because Michelle said something like, well, you know, these are these harder conversations are what helps to build people's trust and love and things like that. So that is what they write. And then she feels that they had a deeper connection, or Rick feels like they had a deeper connection on the mountain when they were doing all this. So next they're on to the dinner part of the date. And he wants to talk more about what he told her on the top of the mountain about his dad. And basically he says that, you know, there were good times and bad times. And he had both of his parents in his life. But then when he was 17, something about him told him to look at his dad's phone. When his dad left out the room, there was a text that came in from a woman. It was a few weeks before Christmas, I believe. He eventually tells his mom before Christmas. And then 3 days after Christmas, his mom comes and gets them and says, we're moving out. And basically, he blamed himself for breaking up his parents' marriage because it comes to find out that the dad had cheated on them and left them, I guess. And so it was really tumultuous. And, you know, it was something that he has been dealing with. And he does say that, you know, he can only take blame for his part in it. But he does also think that in his later life, his dad was depressed. He died 3 years ago. And I think he said something like he had called him or a friend went to check on him and he had collapsed on the floor. So it just sounds like he was older. He wasn't, of course, Rick isn't 17 anymore. So it was a while after that. But he did say that he still kind of feels like his dad harbors his marriage working up on him, kind of. And I don't know if that's to be factual, but, you know, Michelle was like, yeah, you can't do that. And I guess he's saying he no longer does, but sometimes he does feel that way. They have a really good time. He said he can talk to her about everything. He feels like it. She says she feels like she can be herself with him. And she does end up giving him the one-on-one date rose. And they kiss and make out because she really likes Rick. And remember, Rick was the one who kind of got her to tell that Jamie was the one who spread out the rumors and, you know, initiated that whole thing. So she is very trusting of Rick. And then they go out and there's Andy Grammer and he is singing some new single he has. I think it's called Lease on Life. And he serenades them. They're dancing. You know, it's always a cute little moment. And that is the last one-on-one date. Okay, so now we're up at the cocktail party, rose ceremony, elimination. And so they get to the cocktail hour. Michelle comes down. Chris S. hands her a drink. Because, you know, she always usually does a toast. And before she can toast, he turns around and addresses the room. And Chris S. is like, I wasn't on the date, but I heard about how, you know, you guys made her feel unseen. Or we all made her feel unseen. And this needs to be addressed. There are people here who feel like they got it in the bag. And, you know, they don't have to work hard. And I think that Michelle needs to start spending more time with the people who have made her feel seen and less time with those people. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he calling people out, basically, without calling people out. So everybody is looks a little bit taken aback. Michelle says, thank you, Chris S, for that. And then she goes to explain herself because I'm sure she was probably going to do that anyway. She does say, you know, there were 6 people on the date with me. And Nate was in the back talking to the confessional like, first of all, Chris, you weren't there. So she did have that discussion with the 6 people who were there. And you don't know how those conversations ended up. So for you to be talking on it, it's really not your place. I think Clayton or Chris S.G. or something, they were basically saying like, well, that should have been on Michelle to express to the rest of the group if that's what she wanted to do. That wasn't Chris's place. So the guy's really not feeling how he came about it. And Michelle basically does go into the details and say, you know, I told you guys about a time when I felt unseen or not seen, and you know how I never was the person that was loved, being the only black woman in Minnesota, blah blah blah. So she goes into her spiel. She says basically nobody has it in the bag, and that she's still basically just navigating, and they should all just know that. So then Brandon says, Michelle, can I pull you? And Chris S, the guy who had this whole speech, stops him and is like, no, actually, I'm going to take her first. I'm going to pull her first if that's okay with you. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I see what you did here. But so now Brenton is one of the guys I'm sure he's talking about who she always spends time with and thinks he has it in the bag. Not just him, but also Nate. Because remember, Chris S had something to say about Nate when he wasn't so sad about the one-on-one. Because he's like, well, I'm going to have one anyway, so I'm not going to worry about this one. So I'm like, okay, Chris S, I see what you're doing here. So Michelle does tell Brandon, I'll get with you in a minute. She goes to talk to Chris S. And basically, he definitely throws Nate under the bus and says, you know, there are people who think that they have it in the bag and they're not concerned. And actually, Nate said, you know, he wasn't even concerned about the one-on-one date because he knows one is coming anyway. But how he said it was so malicious when that is not even how Nate said it. Nate said it in a like, I'm not finna cry over spilled milk. I'll get my chance because me and her have a good connection, right? That's not how Chris S did it. Like, it was cocky, like, man, whatever, I got this. I'm gonna be here at the end. I'm gonna get a group day, a one-on-one day, whatever. Okay, so the fellas are talking, and they like, well, what do you think about Chris's speech? Like, they not really feeling how he did that. A lot of the guys, actually. Nate goes to her, or she comes to get him. I can't remember which. And he says, well, how do you feel about, Chris S. giving that speech? And she's like, well, you know what? Basically, he actually brought your name up and said this, and I don't know how to feel about it. And you can see the wheels turning in Nate's head. He's not really being defensive or anything. He's just kind of letting it sink in. He was like, okay. He's not really defending himself because really there is nothing to defend. He listens. He was like, now things are going all downhill when me and her are in a good place over something Chris S. said. So I don't even know how they really left that conversation off, but he definitely goes right to Dr. Chris. But while he's out there, the other guys are already talking to him like, why did you say that? Basically, Olu's like, I don't understand why he said. Now, Olu has a rose, but he's still like, I don't even understand why you did that. Brandon calls Chris S. out. Nate comes and says something like, so why would you even say my name? Why do you have my name in your mouth? And he's like, well, she probed me. I wasn't going to say anything. And I'm like, okay, now you're Jamie because you're lying. Because you started this whole thing. You went up there and talked to her, and then you put Nate's name on the table. She didn't probe you. You volunteered that information. He's like, so who else's name did you say? He was like, I'm not worried about that. I'm not saying anybody's name. I just happened to say your name because she probed me. And I'm like, Michelle did not probe you, Chris S. She did not probe you. You gave all that up. So I was like, oh, I see what they did here. Every single time they get rid of a villain, let me tell you, a new one appears. And these people probably been villains the whole time. They just wasn't focused on them for the moment. Or they saw they chance, and so now they a villain. So now it's Chris S. apparently. Joe goes and talks to Michelle. He's like, you know what? I felt so bad. Like, I was a part of the date, and I have to do better. And I did ask you the last time we were together, what can I do to support you and make you feel good? And you said snacks. So I brought you snacks. So he had like these 3 bowls of, I don't know, M&M's, maybe the caramel kind, whatever it was. She was like, oh, I've never had these before. They taste them. He was like, and I brought you this blanket. And so he's creating a small moment for her. And he says, he feels bad. He hates that she felt unseen, especially when he is still here. He doesn't like to hear that. He doesn't want that to happen to her again. She said that she feels like he is really, really pushing to be vulnerable with her, open with her. And she really likes it. Rodney comes up. Remember, he's Mr. Granny Smith. And he said that that first day was so memorable, and he hates that, he's made her feel unseen. And, she said, I want you to know that you have to, she's always in teacher mode. You just have to be comfortable with tuning other people out and, do what you want to do. He's like, you remember our secret handshake? They do this cute little handshake, whatever, and then a kiss. I was like, okay, that's cute. Brandon comes up. Finally, she gets to talk to him. And basically, he says, you're going all in for me. And I just feel like I could be doing so much more. And she says that he has made her feel special, especially when they like lock eyes from across the room. And he's like, yeah, that's my favorite part. They make out. And then Olu is addressing Chris S. And basically he is saying, what made you even go do that? What gave you this decision to come up and talk to her? Do you think you're getting a rose tonight? He was like, why do you think I'm not getting one, Olu? I don't know. We'll see when it happens. But then, of course, he's talking to confessional. Like, of course, the conversation I had with her, I'm definitely getting a rose. So, he tried to do it. He was like, and when I get one, I'm going to look at Olu and I'm going to wink at him and be like, this is for you, Olu. So I'm like, oh, you really being the villain now because, sir, calm down. And everybody's saying, like, Chris, you the underdog, really. You're not nobody she really want to date for real, but because you done this little switcheroo, whatever situation, putting thoughts in her head, now you might have a shot. Like, that's really what you was doing. Okay, so then there is the rose ceremony. Now, Olu has a rose from the group date. Rick has one from his one-on-one, and so does Martin from his one-on-one date. Okay, so those that are safe, you have Brandon, you have Leroy, you have Joe, you have Rodney, you have Clayton, you have Casey. I was like, ooh, she gonna make him wait. And you have Nate, because Nate be getting called first, and him and Joe and stuff. But she like, ain't nobody got this in the bag, so don't get too comfortable. He was picked 7th. And then the final rose comes, and of course it goes to Chris S. And he's looking smug. He talks to the confessional, was like, yeah, I didn't weak at Olu, but he could still, still talking shit. I'm like, Chris, ooh, child, I can't wait for you to go home next week. So those that were eliminated, you have Will, you have Chris G, and then you have Romeo. So those 3 guys are going home. And then Michelle tells all the fellas that she has news for them. She will be leaving Palm Springs, and they will be joining her in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Her hometown. They can see where she grew up, and they're all super excited. So I'm like, okay, The Bachelor is back to the old days, because that is why I used to love The Bachelor and The Bachelorette franchise, because when I say they travel the world, it is hard not to fall in love with somebody when you in Italy this week, Greece that week, France. Like when I say halfway through, they were all over the world. The pandemic has been horrible. They have been stuck to these resorts, and even they didn't even go on hometown days, but they used to go to other countries and have a ball, like Fiji and anywhere, Spain. They would go any and everywhere that the lead wanted to go. So I'm like, okay, at least they're getting a chance to travel around the U.S. And so they're going to Minnesota, so they will be in her hometown. So I'm assuming maybe even this year she'll get a chance to go to their hometowns as well. You know, the travel restrictions have been lifted a little bit. They are probably vaccinated by now. I know before people were just getting those COVID tests and they would stand on the resort, but I think the vaccinations have been approved since they filmed her season. So maybe they'll actually go there, and maybe they'll get an international trip. I'm not sure yet, but we will definitely see, because they did do Paradise in Mexico. So that is something to look forward to. Let me know what y'all think about this week's episode. And do not forget, if you have any holiday shopping, Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, anything, or you just want to treat yourself, check out this Simply Stacy store for any of your Simply Stacy merchandise. That is stacyhelpson.com/shop. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, share my videos. Share the entertainment, share the knowledge, share the wealth, whatever it is you want to do. It helps me if you press subscribe to my channel. It is free, and it definitely benefits me in the long run. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, see ya.